Hello, everyone. What's going on? What's going on? Nate Scott here, author of Life is Rich, How to Create Lasting Wealth. We are delighted to have you today for the Life is Rich podcast with Nate Scott. Today, I'm delighted to have a very, very special guest. In fact, she will be the very first professional that we brought into this discussion about a strategic plan to creating and closing the wealth gap. And so with that said, let me first by simply orient each and every one of you that might be our first time guests. I don't know if you're calling in or listening in from the United States or one of our 19 countries in which we broadcast into. But my name is Nate Scott, author of Life is Rich, How to Create Lasting Wealth. Life is rich means live in fullness every day. Realize I'm Christ's heir. That means spiritually, mentally, emotionally, relationally, physically, and financially. It's a principle-centered, biblically based leadership program focused on personal growth and entrepreneurship. And it's specifically written to address the fact that 77 million baby boomers are retiring and facing a cash flow danger, that 66 out of 100 people age 65 earn less than $30,000 in retirement, that 47% of people say if they had a $400 emergency, they'd have to sell something or borrow money to address it, and 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. It's about how to think versus what to think. How to think versus what to think. And this is a process that I developed as an infantry officer and ranger, knowing that in taking my soldiers into battle, that if I were to get killed on the battlefield, the mission would still have to take place. And so that's why we're here today. We want to prepare you to be able to move through the minefields of life. We want to enable you to live in fullness every day in every area of your life. And so to that end, I'm delighted to bring to the home stage Dr. Courtney Epps. Dr. Courtney Epps has a broad background professionally, and she's an entrepreneur. And I'm going to decrease while she can increase and come forward. Dr. Epps, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to share my screen and just go, because I think it's easier for me to just walk you through, because a lot of times taxes are very consuming for most people. And so I'm going to throw a whole lot at you today, but I want you to understand that we can help you through this process. This is things that we're doing every single day, but it's the focus is to help you keep more of your hard-earned money. And I'll tell you that you truly would be brain dead not to own a home-based business or a business in general. But I think a home-based business is one of the best ways to go right now, especially with everything going on. And I'll walk you through why that is. But first, I want you to have an understanding of who I am. I've been a tax accountant for the last 19 years. So I've called myself a tax strategist. That's what I do. I'm looking for deductions. I'm looking for structure not set up properly. I'm looking for things that are costing you money on your taxes. And we find between $5,000 and $50,000 every single conversation that we have for people every single year. And so the focus is not about preparing something, it's actually doing and going beyond that and saying, hey, what's missing? So from there, I'm a mom of 6. These are my 6 kids. They are 18, 17, 16, 15, 13, and 8. I reside in Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm an international speaker. I speak for Tony Robbins. I speak for Les Brown, for Eric Worre. So I've spoken for over 20 different international speakers, motivational speakers in the last year. So it's been pretty amazing. And, you know, I'm an author. So I have 2 books, and I'll show you the information on those at the very end and give you access to how you can get in contact with me as well. So we do have clients all over the entire country. But here's the first and foremost, I want you to understand why it's important. I love the statistics that you just shared. And on top of that, I want to add a couple things to it, is that the average American will spend more in their lifetime on taxes than they will on food, clothing, housing, and transportation combined. Yet tax strategy is nothing that we ever learned in college or learned in high school for that matter. And it's our number one expense. So when you add it up, property taxes, state taxes, local taxes, you've got income taxes for your federal and state. So all of these add up. And Then you have sales tax, use tax, capital gains tax. I mean, they just add up and add up and add up. So the focus is trying to eliminate the taxes as much as humanly possible so that we can help you create true wealth. So kind of my aha moment, I hated accounting for at least 14 years of my life. I would say actually longer than that, 16 years of my life. I hated accounting. I did not want to prepare taxes. I tried to do everything but. And so that landed me 10 years ago. I had a business. I had 3,500 clients. I owned an insurance agency and an accounting firm. And I put that business up for sale and I sold it. And the guy I sold it to stopped paying me after 4 months. And instead of earning the $900,000 that I was supposed to receive from the business, I was $250,000 in debt. So it's a little different. Now, what that did and led to was me deciding, based upon my parents paying for me to join a network marketing business. And I fell in love with the aspect of being able to free up money for people. See, I was taught in college, just like every other accountant, that network marketing, home-based business is not legitimate. So I never did a lot of tax returns for people who were home-based business owners, but have always been a business owner. I've always had typically a brick and mortar business, and I've had a home-based business. So I knew the tax deductions. I just didn't know that other people did not know what they were entitled to have by having a business. And so I went on this journey. I did a tax return for someone. The husband was an engineer. The wife was a nurse. They could never afford to go on vacation. They, had massive credit card debt. And I ended up saving them $4,100 more than they'd ever gotten back on their tax return by them having a home-based business. Now, they were not super successful in the business, but because of that, they ended up getting money back. They ended up using the product. They ended up telling people about it, and they hit the first rank of residual income in the company after being in for 2.5 years. So that was an eye-opening experience. Now, to first understand why you should have a home-based business, I think you have to go back to what is the two tax systems in our country. So, or what are the two tax systems in our country? There is a tax system that was created to provide wealth for you. That is the business owner tax system. And there's a tax system that was created to steal wealth away from you. That is the W-2 employee tax system. And the reason why, don't shoot the messenger. The reason why is that as a business owner, we generate economy. We're making money every day. We're putting money back into the economy every single day. And then the hopes is that we'll one day hire employees. So 70% of all jobs are created by small to medium-sized businesses. So what happens? We hire employees, then employees will then pay the lion's share of the taxes. That's the way the world works. Now, I'm not telling you you have to quit your day job and start a business. You just need to start a business, okay? And I don't care what that business is. I don't care if it's network marketing. I don't care if it's affiliate marketing. I don't care if you decide you want to be a blogger. Hey, you could be a tax professional. Whatever you want to do, you just need to do something. And so what I do is, obviously teach people why they'd be brain dead not own a business, but I work alongside typically speakers, coaches, trainers, and network marketers, and I free up money for people. And I bring people in that would never see this as a viable opportunity for them. And let's face it, most of the reason why is because they don't have the extra money to spare, and they think it costs a lot of money to start a business. So I help them stay in long enough to win through the tax savings alone, and then I help them keep more of their hard-earned money when they make it. So why is this important? Just like you said earlier, 46% of Americans don't have an extra $400 to their name, and 69% of Americans don't have an extra $1,000 to their name. So what that means is almost half of every person you sit down with, they would not be able to take care of a spare tire if their tire went flat. So we have to be able to go out and help these people understand, look, there's a better way. You can free up money by having a home-based business. And we've found that by having a home-based business alone will save someone $4,000 to $8,000 a year. See, I did not understand all of this. And 2 years ago, the statistics hit me like a ton of bricks. So Grant Cardone was sharing some information with me on a webinar, and he said that the average household income in America is $60,000 a year. So I never really put these things together, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Now they're going to pay $14,000 in taxes. So what's left over is $46,000, and the cost of living in America is $53,000 a year. So that means that the average household in America is going in debt $7,000 a year to work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year to take 2 weeks paid vacation. So that was eye-opening for me. And I said, you know what? I'm the only accountant that's ever been in the network marketing industry, and I'm not in network marketing anymore. So I made it to the top 1% in two different companies, and haven't been a part of the network marketing industry for over 2.5 years. But I'm like, I'm the only accountant that has ever been in the network marketing industry that has the ability to speak and educate people on a level that they can understand taxes. And I'm was put on this earth to go out and share this information. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that I can help people save $4,000 to $8,000 a year by having a home-based business. And if they're going in debt $7,000 a year, I can change their life. So that was it for me. I started sharing this information, and I'll first teach you and walk you through. I made these numbers smaller than what Grant Cardone said. I did go look up those numbers. They are perfectly legitimate, but I also don't want to freak people out. So look, so I took a $60,000 income, single, married. You've got a standard deduction or an itemized deduction. You have your taxable income, which leads you to taxes. Then you have a take home, you have cost of living, and I lowered it some for single persons. That's why it doesn't say 7,000. And here's what's left over, nothing. Okay. So at the end of the day, if you just had a home-based business, now you're going to save 4,000 to 8,000. So how do we do that? We need to first understand, what is a tax deduction? What can I take advantage of that I could not take advantage of before as a W-2 employee? And they are tax deductions. So now when you become a business owner, you have the ability to write off things that you're already spending money on. So we'll walk through those in just a second. But first, let's step back and say, okay, what is a tax deduction? A tax deduction is any expense that's incurred with a purpose of producing or gaining income. It's incurred with a reasonable expectation of resulting in future business, or it's reasonable under the circumstances. Now, what does that mean? If you're attempting to earn income today or in the future and it's reasonable, it's tax deductible. Is it reasonable to think that I spent $85,000 last year as a platinum partner with Tony Robbins and $57,000 in travel? Yes. And the reason why is because I was doing that to grow my business. I was using it for coaching, for advertising, for marketing my business. I was also using it as continuing education so I could learn more so that I could grow my business. So, and all the travel that went along with it is 100% tax deductible. So the great part is about having a home-based business is you have the ability to take your living expenses and convert those into business expenses. And the only thing that you need to do is to do what's called daily business building activities. Well, what is that? That means that you are spending 3 to 5 days a week, 45 minutes a day, attempting to earn an income. And what do you do to earn an income in the network marketing industry? You send people messages on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. You call them on the phone. Most people don't do that anymore. You send them a text message. You say, hey, let's go to lunch. Let's have a conversation. All of those things are considered daily business building activities. You can also create ClickFunnels and do marketing campaigns and things like that. But at the essence of it, it's just attempting to earn an income by sharing information with people about what you're doing. Whether they ever join you or not is irrelevant. So as a W-2 employee, we can all agree we have living expenses and itemized deductions. So itemized deductions, most people get no benefit. Most people, I mean 96%, get no benefit from itemizing their deductions. And the reason why is because the new tax laws came out in 2018. They increased the standard deduction. So the standard deduction for married is $24,000. For single, it's $12,000. And so from there, we have, let's look at the itemized deductions. What can we write off? Well, business use, medical bills and medical insurance, that is not a tax deduction typically. And the reason why is because you have to go above 7.5% of your adjusted gross income in order to get any benefit. So if you made $100,000 in adjusted gross income this year, and 7.5% of your AGI is $7,500, and you had $10,000 worth of medical bills, you would only get $2,500. So that's crazy. So on top of that, you've got property taxes, state tax, sales tax, income taxes, all of that gets added up. The cap on those are $10,000. Then you have mortgage interest. So mortgage interest, you can write that off. Charitable contributions, that is capped at 50% of your adjusted gross income. So you can see quickly how you can eliminate most of your deductions that you think you have on itemized deductions. And then we have living expenses. So living expenses like meals and auto expenses, cell phone, travel, internet, home office supplies, daycare products. Some of you may get dependent daycare, but most of us don't, and it's very minimal on how much you can get back. So here's what happens when you decide that you are now a business owner. When you join a company, when you join an affiliate, when you you could get a business license. If you're in business, that's the day that you start being able to take advantage of tax deductions. So medical bills and medical insurance, there's something called an HRA. And so an HRA is a health reimbursement account. It allows you to write off 100% of the medical bills and medical insurance of your employees. Well, who are your employees? That would be your spouse. You would pay your spouse $100 a month. Your spouse would in turn pay 100% of the medical bills. You would reimburse him, and then from there, or her, and then from there, whatever's left, that would all be 100% tax deductible as a fringe benefit. So as opposed to being a living expense or an itemized deduction and being limited to 7.5% of your AGI, you can actually write off 100% here, and we can help you get that set up. Property taxes. This would be like a vehicle that you would use for business purposes. Or if, for instance, we just bought a toy hauler, that is now a tax deduction for us. And the reason why we bought that is a 44 feet toy hauler, which is like a travel trailer. And we bought it to travel around the country, that I could do speaking engagements. I could take my kids with me, and we could work. I would be able to work from the comfort of that toy hauler, and I would have a place to stay, because that's super important, especially with what's going on with COVID. So property taxes, the insurance, all of those things are tax deductible for that toy hauler. So what else? Business use of home. Most people believe, or they're taught, that business use of home could actually trigger an audit. That's not true. Okay. I've never in 19 years had a client who actually claimed business use of home that was audited. I did have one that was hairdresser. I've only ever had one that we've dealt with that was an audit, that was audited in 19 years. And on top of that, it was a state audit, and we won. So I don't want you to be concerned about claiming business use of home. What I will help you understand is that myth. And the myth is that if you have W-2 income, you get no deductions virtually. You might get an earned income credit or a child tax credit, something like that, but you have no benefit to be able to write things off. So therefore, when you become a business owner, you now get tax deductions. So you're a little more likely to be audited. This year has gone down dramatically because obviously they don't have anybody to work, but I don't want you to worry about that. And your expenses have nothing to do with you being audited. It has to do with your gross income increasing drastically or decreasing drastically. So on business use of home, we can write off insurance, property taxes, mortgage interest. You can depreciate the home. You can write off the utilities, the repairs and maintenance. All of those can be written off for you by having a home-based business. So it's just a percentage of your square footage of the office divided by your square footage of the home. Now, charitable contributions, we're going to talk about this in a second, but there's actually a way to bring in charitable contributions and force that to be 100% tax deductible as a business expense. And what I'm sharing with you, I'm showing like a couple $1,000 for all of these expenses, but that's not a minimum or a maximum. It's just kind of an average that I see. So let's say I pick up the phone and I call Sally, and I say, Sally, I've got something I'm super excited about. I want to share it with you. Can we go to lunch? She says, yes. Sally's my friend anyway. We're going to go to lunch. So I get in my car and I drive to Sally. That's 58 cents a mile that I get to write off. Now I sit down and have a conversation with Sally, and I tell her what I'm doing. And she says, you know what, Courtney, I love this. This is great. Whatever. I want to join you for the business. I want to join you for the product and the service. That's awesome. Okay, great, Sally. Now, Sally could say, you know what, Courtney, like, I really love the product or service, but I'm not interested in making any money. Okay. So, or Sally could say, you know what, Courtney, I think you're going straight to hell or jail. I don't agree with this. I don't like this. I don't know what you're doing, but I am not in. And then I would just look at Sally and say, okay, Sally, well, you know what? I appreciate it because because I sat down with you today and I had this conversation, 50% of my meal is a tax deduction because I attempted to share this with you. And regardless if you decide to join me or not is irrelevant. See, I'm going to save $4,000 to $8,000 this year. And that's exactly what I was trying to teach you how to do. And if you're not okay with that, that's perfectly fine. But on top of that, not only saving money in taxes, but it was also a way for you to buy a product at wholesale versus retail and a way for you to potentially make some extra money. And the last time I checked, the only way that you can make money in the company that I'm involved in is that, one, I'm saving more money in taxes, right? So I'm sharing this information with someone. Now they're saving more money in taxes, $4,000 to $8,000 a year. And then they're buying a product at wholesale versus retail. And then on top of that, they have the potential to make some extra money. I don't really understand what part of that you didn't understand, but it's perfectly fine because I appreciate you for allowing me to share it with you. Now I get to ride 50% of my miles or 50% of my meals. And then from there, I'm going to get back in my car and I'm going to ride 58 cents a mile back home. I already wrote off the 58 cents to get here. And then when I get home, I get to write off a portion of my house. It's typically $3,000 to $5,000 a year in a tax deduction that I can write off. And then I needed my cell phone in order to run my business. So that's a tax deduction. And then I needed my internet in order to run my business. That's a tax deduction. And then guess what? I get to travel around the world and see the most amazing people for continuing education, to grow my business, to meet with upline, downline, potential clients, including you. If I wanted to fly to you and see you, I could do that. All of that is a tax deduction for me and is a travel expense that I can write off. And then on top of that, I can hire my kids, and I have hired my kids to work for me. And so my kids, I have 6 of them. I pay them $12,000 a year. They don't have to pay taxes on it. I don't have to pay taxes on it. That last time I checked, that's $72,000 in taxable income that I don't have to pay taxes on. And then from there, that saves me $28,000 in taxes. And then because I've hired my kids to work for me and my spouse, because I get extra benefits from medical bills and medical insurance become 100% tax deductible. Now, guess what? I get to ride my swimming pool. My swimming pool is a fringe benefit because my children are my employees. And because I allow them to swim in my swimming pool and that swimming pool is on my property, I get to write that off too. I get to write off a portion of my home. I get to write off my swimming pool. I get to also take my kids with me all over the country and all over the world to see me speak and be alongside me. And they help me at the events that I'm at. So they're personal assistants, all that good stuff. And I'll typically go a couple of days on the front end and a couple of days on the back end, and I will spend with just them. And that is special. One is special, but it's also tax deductible. So if you're not in for that, that's perfectly fine with me because guess what? I get to write off my office supplies. So my laptop is a tax deduction. My cell phone is a tax deduction. My microphone that I have in front of me is a tax deduction. My camera in front of me is a tax deduction because I have a home-based business. Now, legal and professional fees, that would be like tax preparation. That would be anything you pay me to do, anything you pay an attorney to do, coaches, counselors, all that good stuff, as long as it's business related. So I think we can all agree that the deductions that I've listed out so far have nothing to do with owning a business or added to how much money you're spending out of your pocket today. The only difference is that yesterday, if you were a W-2 employee only, and that today, when you sign up to be a home-based business owner, now you get to take advantage of these tax deductions that you did not before. The only extra expenses that you would have would be things like advertising. And guys, there's 440 more of these tax deductions. So this is not all of them. These are just the handful that I see as network marketers, as home-based business owners. So the extra expenses would be things like maybe advertising. You might want to spend money on Facebook advertising or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Continuing education, hands down, continuing education is the number one thing that you can spend your money on. And the reason why, other than your product, because you got to take the product in order to tell people about it, or the service, but the continuing education changed everything for me. It puts you around the right people. It puts you around people who have already succeeded, who are willing to help you get to where they've gotten, because a lot of times they financially benefit from you, which is awesome. And that's the way it should be. I mean, that would make the world a whole lot easier. That would make people connect together and stop instead of disconnecting and be in competition with each other. So it is an amazing opportunity for you to be around the right people, get the belief that you need not only in yourself from personal growth and development, but also in the company and in the people that you're working with on a daily basis. So I love continuing education. So you may have dues, which will be like Zoom. That could be, like if you have a StreamYard, if you have expenses for a website, if your company charges a monthly fee, that would be dues. And then you have cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold would be like products that you buy to resell. Now, here's what I'll tell you. People ask me all the time, can I write off my personal consumption? It depends. If you are attempting to earn an income with the products that or the services that you're buying, and you're taking them and you're sharing your story, your before and after, or you're talking about it, you are marketing that story, then that to me is advertising. If, however, you are not talking to anybody about it, you're just taking your product or service, no, don't write that off. Now, samples, things that you give away, yes, that would be tax deductible, and things that you're selling, that would be cost of goods sold. So you can see quickly, we're up to $35,000 right now in expenses with just a couple $1,000 from each of these, I'd say 15 different deductions that you're entitled to take. So I'm not even going to use that number because I want you to see how this all breaks down. So as a business owner, if I'm a W-2 employee with a home-based business making the same $60,000 a year, here's what happens. Let's just use $25,000 as a business expense number. From there, you have a standard deduction or an itemized deduction, 12 or 24. That leads us to our taxable income of $23,000 if we're single, married is $11,000. The taxes on that are $8,300 single, $6,100 if you are married. And then here's the take home. Well, $51,000 is your take home, single, $53,000 if you're married. Cost of living, we're going to leave it the same. We said that cost of living on average is $53,000 for a married person, $50,000 for a single is what we dropped it to a little bit. And now you're positive. Now you are making your difference. You've not made $1 in the home-based business industry, but the difference of the take home is $5,600 if you're single, $4,500 if you're married, and you would have to make an additional $3.79 per hour for every hour that you work, or $3.05 an hour if you're married, in order to be equivalent to the amount of money that you would save just by having a home-based business. Last time I checked, there's not a lot of businesses giving out $3 an hour raises right now. So home-based business is the best bet. Now, what happens when you start making money? So the great part about making money is that you, in no way from there, you're not having to pay taxes on it yet. So we had an additional $5,000 a year, $6,000 a year, that would be $500 a month. And then you have business losses, because we just went through the losses or the expenses of $25,000. Now on paper, you're showing a loss. So see, this loss can be offset against any income, W-2 income, capital gains. It could go against your rent. If you had, rental income, any dividend income, interest income, all of that, even retirement income and Social Security income, it can go against that. So from there, we now have our taxable income is $29,000 single, $17,000 married. Our taxes, $9,500 single, $7,100 if you're married. Here's our take home is $56,000 and $58,000. Cost of living is the same. And here's the difference. $10,500 if you're single, $9,500 if you're married. You would have to make an additional $7.03 an hour for every hour that you work, 2,000 hours a year, or $6.48 an hour if you're married, to be equivalent to the tax savings of having a home-based business and making an additional $500 a month. There's just no better way. So a couple of different deductions I want to go through that are a big deal for you to be able to take advantage of. One is auto expenses. So auto expenses can be tracked one of two ways. You can do the standard mileage rate, or you can do actual expenses. So standard mileage rate is 58 cents a mile. So let's say we had 15,000 miles, 58 cents times 58 cents. that would be $8,700 in a tax deduction. Now, you can't claim gas or oil changes or repairs. There's no depreciation that goes into that. And that's almost never a good idea under the new tax law. But if you're just getting started in business and you're claiming mileage and you're not using your vehicle more than 50% for business purposes, mileage is probably going to be the best way for you to go. Now, let's then determine your actual expenses. So actual expenses are your business miles divided by your total miles, which is your business usage. So from there, let's say we have 8,000 business miles, total miles is 10,000. 80, that would be 80% is the business usage. From there, we would track the gas, the oil changes, the repairs and maintenance, the supplies, the interest, the car washes. And so adding all that up, let's say it was $12,000 times 80% is $9,600 in a tax deduction. Now, it doesn't just stop there because you get to depreciate the vehicle. And in 2018, January 1st, they came out with some new tax laws, and they said if you have a vehicle that you bought after January 1st, 2018, you can actually take that vehicle and you get to use these new depreciation rates. Well, why is that important? Because it used to take about 18 years to write off a $50,000 BMW, whereas now it takes about 5.3 years. And the reason why, and I'll kind of break it down for you to it'll make a lot more sense if I give you an example. I bought a 2000, I don't even know what year it is. I'm not even going there. I bought a 535i December of 2017. And so when I bought that car, I was able to get an $11,160 deduction because we're looking at 2017 numbers. Then the second year, which was 2018, I was able to obtain a $5,100 tax deduction. And then the third year, 2019, was a $3,050 deduction. Well, I needed some more tax deductions last year. So I called my husband on December 31st and I said, I need you to go find me a car. So he went out, he went to the dealership and he got me a Cadillac XT6. Now, here's the great part. The Cadillac XT6 was year one of the current depreciation rate. So I was able to take a $10,000 deduction, bought it December 31st, got that deduction that year. Plus I was able to take the $3,000 deduction from the car. Okay. The second year, this year, excuse me, I got a $16,000 deduction. So the very next day, 2020, I started the new year with a $16,000 tax deduction. Now, had I kept the old car, I would have had an $1,875 tax deduction. So that one shift paid for my car for the year. So that's why it's important. So that's why you see every couple of years that people are out buying new vehicles. And here's the cool part. If you have a vehicle that's over 6,000 pounds, you can look it up. It's just type in the name of your vehicle, your make, model, and GVW. So that's gross vehicle weight. If it's over 6,000 gross vehicle weight, you can actually claim 100% of the vehicle up to your net income in your business the first year that you buy it. So that is a huge, huge deal. So if you made 100 grand, you bought a vehicle for 50, you don't have to pay it off. It doesn't have to be new. It just has to be new to you. That $50,000 then becomes a tax deduction for you. And that's 100% in the first year that you buy it. So I'll save you a good bit of money. Now, hiring your kids. Kids are expensive. They're very expensive. I have 6 of them. So, sports, dance, college, smartphones, video games, all these things. You can hire your kids to work for you. And if you do so, by doing that, you can pay them $12,000 a year. They don't have to pay taxes on it. You don't have to pay taxes on it. There's no unemployment. There's no FICA, no federal, no state taxes on any of that money if they're under the age of 18. If they're over 18, you would just withhold FICA. And here's the thing. For me, just like I said earlier, $12,000, I had 6 children, or have 6 children, $72,000 a year that I receive in a tax deduction. And from there, that saves me about $28,000. You can pay your kids to do anything for you. They could be a personal assistant. They could go with you to events and help you sell or help you talk to people. I have tax preparers. My daughter is a tax preparer. I have my kids come in and scan. I have them clean up our house, have them do all kinds of things for us so that we can pay them and then they can pay for their things, but they can also pay for the things that we have that are not tax deductible. So it's just a really, really big deal for you to be able to take advantage of that. Now, my last big expense I want to talk to you about, this is something that shifted everything for me and allowed me to have a true purpose in life. And that was combining my passion and my profits together. And see, I believe that if you help enough people get exactly what they want, you'll automatically get what you want. And so I am all for, this is my motto, this is my mission in life every single day, is to teach more, how to save more money and taxes, obviously, how to then have more, live more, and then give more. Because I think that's the true meaning of life. That gives us true fulfillment, is when we can give back. And I don't want you to just start when you have money. I want you to start now. I want you to make it intentional to start giving right now. And then from there, I can then, because I made more money, then I can then nourish more children, which is provide safe drinking water, provide advanced immune support to children in need, and then I can free more children from sex trafficking. So it's just a win-win situation when you can spend your life every single day trying to make impact. So here's how it works. If you give from a gross income level instead of a net income level, meaning that I'm going to decide to give off the top. I'm not going to wait until I have money, and then whatever's left over, I'm just going to give some of that. You have to truly give from a gross income level. So if you give for every dollar that you provide, and you provide, then what we're doing, so it could be for every dollar, it could be for every product, it could be for every service, it could be for every $100. It doesn't matter. And I'll give you my 3 examples and what I've been able to do. So for every dollar that we bring in to our accounting practice, whether it is a speaking engagement, a book sale, or it could be a tax preparation, a tax strategy session, every dollar that comes in, we provide a serving of advanced immune support to children in need all over the world. And mostly our focus is medically fragile children. So if you have a child or you know a child that's medically fragile, please reach out to me and I will be more than happy to provide them with the nutrition to help their body fight against sickness and disease. So super grateful for what I've been able to do with that. And that is a company that we give to called Manna Relief. They're the only nonprofit in the world that provides whole food instead of synthetic nutrients. So super proud of that. As of November 15th, we were able to provide over 3 million servings of nutrition. We're at a rate that we're impacting almost 9,000 children's lives every single day. That is no joke. That has shifted everything in me, that I can wake up every morning and know that I am impacting almost 9,000 children's lives with advanced immune support. The next thing that we added on is Operation Underground Railroad. And what we're doing with them is freeing children. For every 25,000 that we bring in income, we free a child from sex trafficking. And then on top of that, we added in, the next level was to provide safe drinking water. Because if you don't provide if you provide nutrition and not water, a child will die. If you provide water and not nutrition, a child will die. So, and what does the most malnourished children on earth need? Or the most malnourished children on earth are sex traffic victims. So we want to be able to help them. So water, we work with the last well, and we've been able to impact every single week. We provide about a well a week. And every day we impact at least 53 people's lives and provide them with safe drinking water for a lifetime. So, and that's for every $150 that we bring in, we provide safe drinking water to a person. So that may not interest you. It may not be something else. It may not be those charities or those ways of giving, but find something that you're passionate about. Start giving from a gross income level. It becomes 100% tax deductible for you. And then from there, you can make a decision. Well, how much do I want to give? But it's all tax deductible, and you're impacting the world at the same time. And it'll force you to do things and go out of your comfort zone and talk to people that you never would before. Now, this is the last thing, and I'll wrap up with a summary, but I want to help you keep more of your hard-earned money when you make it. So it is all truly, when we're doing a tax strategy session, we're finding deductions. So that's one of the biggest things, is tracking the deductions that you have and making sure that we're writing all those down and we're listing all those on the tax return. The second thing is the structure. So the structure is very important. and how much money you pay in what's called self-employment taxes. So when you start making money, and I would say when you get to a point where you're doing at least $1,000 a month in gross income, you need to go ahead and get an LLC. And an LLC does nothing but limit your liability. It's called a limited liability company. Okay. So what it does from there is it allows you to treat your business as either a sole proprietorship, which is a Schedule C on your personal tax return. That's what most people do because they have no clue of the difference. Or you can take your LLC and treat it as an S corporation for tax purposes. And what that does is allow you to bypass 80% of the self-employment taxes that you would pay if you were a sole proprietorship. And so I'll break that down for you. So let's say we made 100 grand. We had $40,000 in expenses. What was left over is $60,000. So that $60,000 in net income, you would pay taxes of 15.3% in self-employment taxes. Plus you'd have to pay federal and state taxes. So of the 60,000, 15.3% of that money, you don't have to pay, you would pay taxes of $9,100, which is self-employment taxes. So here's the problem with that. There's a way to bypass 80% of that, but you need an LLC. And then you need to, there's some paperwork that you would fill out or that we would fill out for you that would go to the IRS, and it says, hey, I want to treat my LLC as an S corporation for tax purposes. It's a one-time thing. And then from there, instead of paying self-employment taxes on $9,000 or $9,180, you would pay about $1,800 in self-employment taxes. So it's like, which one would you rather do? You want to pay $1,800? You want to pay $9,000? You get to pick. So it's just a little bit more paperwork. I'll tell you, if at the end of the day, it's about $1,800 a year to put that in place for all the paperwork, the payroll that has to be processed, and the additional tax return that has to be filed. But it's definitely worth it if you're making more than $12,000 a year or $1,000 a month in net income. So $1,000 a month, if you're an LLC, to get an LLC in gross income, when you get to a point where you're doing $1,000 a month in net income, then you need an S Corp election in place. So in summary, there's never been a better time to have a home-based business for you and your family. You need to go out and share this information with everybody. Take the tax deductions that you're entitled to take. So don't let anybody scare you into believing that you can't take advantage of these deductions. Hire your family and especially your children. One, that's a huge tax deduction. Hire your spouse for the HRA ability. And that there's also other fringe benefits that you can put into place, things like college, as well as, writing off an athletic facility. So there's hundreds of different fringe benefits that you can benefit from by having a home-based business and hiring your family. The next step is accountant. It is very important on who you hire to be your accountant. I just got finished up with a tax strategy session. The accountant did not list themselves as the paid preparer on the client's tax return. She told me he had not e-filed it. He mailed it in, which tells me that one, he doesn't have the ability to actually file tax returns. He definitely doesn't have the ability to e-file tax returns. And that's a major problem because his name wasn't listed on the tax return. So she's more likely to be audited, because if you prepare your own return, like TurboTax, like Jackson Hewitt Online, all these things, you are the one signing the tax return saying it's correct. You are more likely to be audited, and you're more likely to make mistakes, because that's what typically triggers an audit. Is you make a mistake, you check a box, you say something you weren't supposed to, or you write off something you were not supposed to, and then that triggers an audit for you. If you have an accountant that is telling you that network marketing is not legitimate, or home-based business is not legitimate, or you don't want to claim those deductions, find another accountant. Find somebody who backs you, and then always want to make sure that they are willing to handle an audit if you were to ever get audited. So that's one of the things we include in every tax return for us. The last thing is take advantage of tracking your expenses. You have got to track your expenses. It cannot be in an Excel spreadsheet. It needs to be in an accounting software. We can help you with that as well. So I'm going to give you access to all of my information on this next slide, but do not keep track of your expenses in an Excel spreadsheet. And the reason why, it's better than nothing, but if you do get audited, you are going to be required to go back and do the bookkeeping to prove to the auditor that all of your expenses have been tracked, that you have reconciled your bank accounts and that you are entitled to take advantage of those tax deductions. So I just want to share that with you and share this with everyone, guys. I mean, everyone needs to know this information right now because of everything going on in America, and all around the world for that matter. Everyone needs some sort of home-based business. And if you're not from America, almost every single one of these deductions apply for you. I'm sure there's something like an LLC in your area and an S corporation. I know there is in Canada. I can't think of the word for it right now, but we can also connect you if you need that support. And then if you want to reach out to us, here's my book, More Relaxing, Less Taxing. Here is a tax strategy session. We charge $99 for that. We're literally looking where you went wrong and how can we help you fix those problems. So we can amend tax returns, go back 3 years. If you had an LLC and you didn't treat that LLC as an S corporation, we can go back to 2018 and 2019 and file those for you. And then I put in here, you can text this number, and what this number is going to give you is a deduction spreadsheet for all of the deductions that you can take advantage of by having a home-based business. It has my link tree in it, so you'll be able to access like my YouTube, my social media, and all that good stuff. You'll also be able to access my membership, so you can check that out, my books, everything about me, my website, it's all there. If you'll just text that number, it'll just ask for your name and number, or excuse me, it'll just ask for your name and your email address. And we don't send out a lot of information. Anything that we send out is just going to be educational. So it's going to be why you be brain dead not on a business, what are the two tax systems. So it's just going to be educational content if we send anything. This is my last book, What's Your Plan B? It is not, this book was specifically for the network marketing industry. So this is like a prospecting tool to help people understand why this business is so important and why they need to be involved in it. Obviously, everyone needs a plan B right now. And because it doesn't matter how much money you make, it does truly matter how much money you keep, and you have got to do everything legally, morally, and ethically that you possibly can to keep more of your hard-earned money. So, I appreciate, don't be brain dead. Go out and find a business, something you're passionate about, something you can open your mouth about and share. But that's all I got, Nate.
Wow, wow, wow. I am so excited about the information that you shared, just because, once again, you have filled in what I consider to be the true wealth building secret. Life is Rich, How to Create Lasting Wealth. I cover leadership is the answer, the cash flow danger, it happened to me, becoming an entrepreneur, choosing the right entity, raising capital, asset protection, protecting your financial privacy, reducing your taxes, retirement planning, residual income retirement planning, estate planning, and Life is Rich. And with what you just now shared, there's the information, but then there's the application. Miles Monroe says that knowledge is information, understanding is comprehension, but wisdom is applied knowledge. And so I'm delighted to be able to bring this information to the audience, to be able to say, I don't want you just to read my book. I wrote it for you to do something with it. I wanted to change your life. And I don't want to have you rely on reading it and then not knowing what to do. Yeah. Courtney, when I left the military, I had a 90-day window to transition, and that was called terminal leave. I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and within 90 days of reading that book, I went out and acquired over $1 million in assets in 90 days. Wow. That's what laid the foundation for my first million at 32. When I started getting cold called by people, them not knowing that I was a West Pointer with an MBA from George Washington, financial bank from Georgetown, and I was looking for an advisor. Not because I didn't know what to do. I didn't want my emotions driving my decisions. You see, I started out in the military as an enlisted soldier, and then I became an officer after serving in combat. So that meant I had a great appreciation for people in their role and their job and whatever they were doing, because I was one of those guys that was doing my job in support of people that had maybe a rank or a title, but I was the expert in my field. And that's the way that I've always addressed leading from home as a CEO of my own life. And so in looking for an advisor, it was about being able to allow someone to do what they do, but then being able to have the ability to ask questions and have sounding boards, but inevitably knowing that I'm still responsible for the decisions that I make. And so that's what led me into the financial services as an advisor with UBS. But within a week of being there, I realized that my background was very different than others because I was a practitioner. And that's what excites me about you. You are a practitioner. You had the dubious distinction of being an entrepreneur, making the exit, not having money be paid to you, and then finding yourself in a situation where you're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do right now with this situation?
Yes.
And due to the blessing of your parents, you received that gift of being exposed to an opportunity that you in turn took advantage of.
Yes.
But you did so in a way that is unlike most people. You still saw it as a way to be able to have access to leads, i.e. a market of people.
Yep.
And then you were establishing contacts with people to order for your value that you had your unique selling proposition in, your expertise. It led to that 900 tax returns that you were able to do, in turn, giving you new insights into something because you now knew a new problem. That's what I receive when I look at you and your story. And so, are you amazed that I actually know your story? Like,
Yes, I love that. Yeah,
yeah.
that, it is, I've lost everything I own twice. And, I put my heart and soul into my first major business was that insurance agency. And I was 29, and 3,500 clients. I had 3 kids at the time. And, I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, and I had a 5-year non-compete in the entire state of South Carolina for anything involving insurance or accounting. And although it wasn't hold up in court, I was unemployable. Nobody would hire me and I couldn't start over. It was outside of tax season. I didn't understand how to grow a business outside of tax season until 3 years ago. And, so I was really struggling and I couldn't start over on the insurance agency because I didn't have a book of business because that's required. And so it was very hard for me. And then, when I fell into the network marketing space and I learned the personal growth and development side, I realized like, man, what am I doing? Like I was around the wrong people. But then, what led me to really explode in business was about 3 years ago. I went to a Tony Robbins event after literally like shutting down. I had something personal going on with my life and with one of my children, and it really affected me. And we were living in a house that was infested with mold. So I was starting to lose my memory and started having medical issues and didn't know what was wrong with me, had no clue. And what ended up happening, I shut down for about 6 weeks and I showed up to a Tony Robbins event, but I would not have known who Tony Robbins was had it not been for network marketing. And I went to that event and I spent 4 hours listening to Tony, and I realized I was self-sabotaging myself. Had massive limiting beliefs because I was scared to death to fail again. I just didn't want to fail my children. So I wasn't playing big at all. I was playing very, very small, and I was undervaluing myself. So I was getting the wrong clients. And then on top of that, I realized, I think it's the most important thing is you get to choose. Like there's a lot of things going on right now, but you get to choose how you deal with it. You get to choose whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you're miserable, whether you want to be depressed, whether you want to be suicidal, whether you want to get up and realize whether you want true abundance. You get to decide every single second of every day. You get to choose who you are and how you take advantage of the opportunity that's been laid in front of you. And the great thing is you can't have 2 emotions at the same time. So if you're happy, you can't be sad. If you're grateful, you can't be angry. So at the end of the day, that was when I realized that, and I realized that I was allowing myself to just be miserable and depressed over something that I couldn't control. I learned immediately, I'm like, okay, I can fix this. So let's get going. And the next day I was able to obtain $6,000 a month in accounting clients as CFO clients. And I didn't have any monthly clients at that point in time, but it's just that shift changed everything for me. So we went from making $7,500 a month 3 years ago, June 30th of 2017, to making $270,000 a month 2.5 years later. I guess it's been 3 years later. And so everything shifted. And then on top of that, adding in giving and pushing myself, because I wouldn't work this hard every day. I would not spend the amount of time that I do doing the things that I do if it wasn't for giving back. Because we literally give away now twice as much money as we keep every single month. And which is what I love about it. I just got to tell you this. It just hit me. That $7,500 a month that we were making 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, we are now giving away $35,000 a month. That's insane. That's crazy. Wow. I mean, that's just, I don't know. It's just amazing. It's like the more you give, the more you get. The more you give, the more you get. It's like God allows you massive abundance because he knows what you're willing to do with it. And if you're just going to hoard it and hold it, he's not going to give it to you. And when you give it away and you help people and you give them this information, then he just starts allowing true abundance in your life. So
what you just now said is perfect for who we are, because Life is Rich evolved as an experience for me as a 19-year-old teenager in combat. It was at 19 when I walked the perimeter during Desert Storm, and I said, Lord, if you allow me to make it back, I'll never waste a day of my life. My name is Nathaniel, and that means God's gift. My life's commitment has been in giving myself away. And the way that that's evolved has been into the space of social entrepreneurship. Because at West Point, I made a commitment to a lifetime of service to the nation. It wasn't just in my uniform, but in essence, wherever I was placed, I've been called to lead and to be able to move forward in that field. Right now, more so than ever, I feel that we must stand forward and bring forth leadership and to awaken people. And so that's where my commitment is. It's about educating, equipping, and empowering people, giving them a plan, mentorship, and support in partnership with my wife to be able to then show people that truly one can create the life that they desire, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, relationally, physically, and financially. We're foundationally built on Matthew 6:33, which says, seek ye first the kingdom of God. And those are the instructions for the non-believer. We don't beat people over the head with the Bible, but we're simply saying that that piece right there is covered. So if you believe, then great. And then there's the promise that all things thereafter shall be added unto you. That means spiritually, mentally, emotionally, relationally, physically, and financially. And so the story that you share is a similar story for me. In 1996, the week I graduated from West Point is when I got introduced to the world of personal growth and development and entrepreneurship via network marketing. Now, I was never drawn into the opportunity. That wasn't my thing. For me, I never knew about picking up books and going to seminars and being around successful people. And so as I speak around the world, I tell people, take away my West Point degree, take away my MBA from George Washington, finance training from Georgetown. When I learned to pick up books and go to seminars and be around successful people, that's what laid the foundation for everything else I've done in my life. And that's the message that I want everyone to receive, is that we are professionals out here in our own space, and we've done those things that people say to go do. However, we know how to think versus what to think. And we're simply bringing it forward so that right now people can do some things that even if they're unemployed or underemployed, we can show them how to convert their job search into something that can allow them to have a $4,000 to $8,000 tax savings. I'm working right now where I'm teaching people how to use LinkedIn and simply saying, if you understand that your business activities are mastering the pipeline, that you start with your leads. And I'm saying LinkedIn's a great place if you're looking for a job, if you're looking to do sales, if you're looking to do anything, that platform gives you leads. Now what you do is you learn to reach out to people to have contacts. And with those contacts, you form relationships through communication, listening for a real problem to solve. And then once you have that, you set your appointment. And now that you've got your appointment set, you now have the ability to make your presentation. And with your presentation, whether or not they say yes or no, you have done those things that you've said we must do. 3 to 5 days per week, 45 minutes per day. And now you've got something that truly looks like, feels like, is a business that has a potential of actually creating income.
Love
And
it.
so, did I miss anything on that?
Nope, you got it. That's good. Good stuff.
Good deal. Well, listen, Courtney, I appreciate you. I look forward to connecting once again with you so that in turn we can see how we can continue to spread this message. And if I could be of any service to you, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our mission is closing the wealth gap by creating healthy environments for children. The reason that this is important to us, everyone as a reminder, is 1 in 3 women and 1 in 2 men are diagnosed with some form of cancer during their lifetime. The number 1 cancer killer for both men and women is not breast cancer, that's 4. It's not pancreatic, that's 3. It's not colon, that's 2. But number 1 is lung cancer. We work with the Children's Environmental Health Network out of DC, a 30-year nonprofit. And what we're simply doing is educating people about the lung damage study that says that cleaning your home once a week with certain products has equivalent impact on your lung capacity as smoking a pack of cigarettes per day for 20 years. I don't know if that's alarming to you all, but for me, I grew up in a small town outside of Savannah, Georgia. And I grew up hearing that if it didn't smell like bleach, then it's not clean. Well, that's what I took into my adult life. But reading that lung damage study and then being able to have the remembrance of the fact that my mother-in-law is a breast cancer survivor, my father-in-law passed away from pancreatic cancer, our pastor was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, and within a month, she passed away. My grandmother passed away January 12th, 2020, after a bout with cancer. And my wife's sister just passed away 3 weeks ago after a bout with cancer. So this is personal. And so if any of that resonates with you, if you're alarmed by what I've shared, then that's what I encourage you to do. Join us in locking arms by creating a healthy environment for children. Just take a simple step. Check your cabinets. See whether or not you have things in there that show you that they're harmful, and then make an adjustment. And if you will do that, we can then give you a plan, mentorship, and support in helping you to close a wealth gap. And you just not got exposed to one way to do that, to educate you, to equip you, and to empower you to live in fullness every day. And so, Courtney, I'd like to close out by simply asking, you have the floor to ask me one question, personal or business, that I can then answer for you and those that are listening.
So for me, what is it that really drives you every single day? Like on top of the cancer. So what led you to the company that you're in, and what drives you to share that every single day?
The singular message, the singular thing that drives me is that vow that I took at 19 when I walked the perimeter during Desert Storm. And I said, Lord, if you allow me to make it back, I will never waste a day of my life.
I love it.
It's about who you be versus what you do. And so in Life is Rich, How to Create Lasting Wealth, I only emphasize to people, especially the believer, that you are the asset. It's not no company. There's no product. There's no deal. You are uniquely made by God to fulfill a specific purpose, and that purpose is His purpose. The thing that wakes me up each and every morning is simply saying to people, lock arms with me, recognizing that I only serve you. How do I serve you? By providing you a strategic leadership perspective to give you insights and perspectives that are not with an agenda, and to invite you into a relationship with me that's not predicated on you buying into something or getting into something. I want to help you to save money, save time, get better quality products, and I would not do that. And in fact, for 14 years, I did not look at the particular company that I work with because of how people approach me. They approach me as if it was an MLM. I don't have an issue with the business model. I'm an entrepreneur. So my sniff test is, if I don't recruit anybody, can I still make money? That's what I did with my 40-unit apartment complex. That's what I did as a personal trainer. That's what I did as a franchise owner. That's what I do in real business. And so it wasn't until I was speaking at an event that I heard a presentation that made me say to the speaker, we need to talk. I think your program fits my program, because I see that if I get people to shop online, that means they're looking at their expenses. And if I get them looking at their expenses, they're able to track their expenses. And tracking is the first step to creating a zero-based budget. Well, if I get them starting with a zero-based budget, Well, now I'm able to then help them to create their emergency fund that we spoke about, that most people don't have one that's more than $400. After that, I'm able to help them to reduce their expenses. With their expenses reduced, we can now focus on increasing income, because income is the greatest way to create wealth. And then after that, we can power roll their debt and eliminate the debt. We can then pay off their mortgage. Then we can move into saving and investing, and then investing wisely and continuing to give 10%. But what's exciting with your note today is the fact that from the front, you can commit to making those contributions on the gross and have 100% tax deductibility.
Exactly.
So what you've just now given to me is a way now to extend the message that's already been provided. But that's what allows me to strategically work with anyone, because I'm working only to see how to enhance and complement what people are already doing in their life, because I'm saying that it's about who you be versus what you do. And that allows us to do more.
I love it.
That was a great question. I've never expected that one. So that one is the one. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, I will get this message out to each and every one of you. So if you have all of Courtney's information, you know, only bring people on here that I vet to say that they complement the things that I can vouch for. And to that end, you are a true professional. The sky's the limit. Your message is needed. People need you. And I see some other platforms that I'm a part of that are in my academic arenas that I know that we need to get to and share. So to that end, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we look forward to having you on at another time.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you. Have an amazing day.
Likewise, likewise. I'm just